the season. And of course, Sean, I've been reading a lot about you. We had a great conversation just before the show. You are now a dean of students at the Fern Bacon Middle School in Sacramento.
Yes, sir.
I am actually really happy and shocked at the same time. Are you as hard nosed as a dean as you were as an import?
Yeah, I'm absolutely. I think the way that we're successful in education is holding expectations not only for the students, for staff, but most of all for ourselves. So we have high expectations. We come in, we work hard. We basically run it like it's like almost like a sports team. We're here to be successful. We want to do things at a high level. We want our students to perform well, and that comes with hard work and dedication, just like you would as a basketball player.
Well, when you act as a dean wearing that hat, do you tell
Yep.
stories about the PBA and your times here in the Philippines?
The Philippines is part of my everyday life, and the PBA is part of my everyday life. I actually had about 30 students, Filipino students, and their families are from the Philippines. So I've constantly
Wow.
have connections and sharing stories. I work at a school which is called a Title I school, which means most of our kids are minorities or English language learners from Mexico and African American students. We have very few white students on my campus, like maybe no more than like 15 white kids. So I can always share my journey, like for these kids. Like I went through this community, grew up in this community, went on to go see parts of the world, especially the Philippines, and really changed my whole life and my family's life. By being a dedicated and hardworking student.
I know your journey. A lot of people, almost everyone knows how you came over as part of that PBA, IBA team that came over. It's the same story with you, Jeff. You came here as part of a traveling team that included a couple of Philams. Yeah, I just wanted to know for the two of you, was it really part of your mission when you came over to land the job here in the Philippines? I'll start with you, Jeff.
Honestly, it wasn't. It was an opportunity to come to the Philippines and play and see the kind of competition that's out here. What's pretty awesome about that team was we were really a bunch of players that all played against each other. A couple guys played together, but a lot of us played against each other in all the Filipino tournaments all over California. So one year they were forming a team to come join and be part of the PBL conference here. And I got on that team and just really my love for basketball. I just really wanted to challenge myself to see what kind of a competition that was out here. I knew there was always a love for basketball here, and I felt it was a good opportunity to do something different. So, yeah, my only expectation was to come out here and play against guys that I know love basketball and are very talented, and we got that, To stay, I think that was another conversation when I got here. So, obviously, I'm glad I did, and took the risk and took the opportunity, and I'm still here. 25 years later? So.
And it's of course for the better of basketball here in the Philippines. Sean, at the same time, you came over with some of the best imports.
Right.
Sugar Ray Hall played
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
We remember, of course, Russell Brown from Arizona State.
Oh,
Uh,
yes. Yeah.
and you competed among the best. When you came over, was it also part of the plan to look for a job and become eventually a resident import in the Philippines?
Yeah, I'm with Jeff. I when I came over, I tried out for this All Star team, the IBA All Stars, and I was really not was supposed to make it. So when we were traveling, we had a stopover in Korea, we had a stopover in Japan before we got to Manila. But Ray Hall kept telling us, like, "Hey, if you guys do well, we're all can leave with contracts in the Philippines." And literally all the other guys had no idea what he was talking about. Ray was in the head of the game. I actually just reached out to him about 2 months ago and reminded him of the reason my journey happened in the Philippines because he told me that story that we can all end up getting a contract in the Philippines. Well, I still had no idea until we landed and we played a couple of games, and then we had the slam dunk contest, and we know how that went against Billy Ray Bates,
Yep.
and then and then followed up with the love of basketball that we were receiving every day in the Philippines. Once I got there, I was like, man, I want to come back now. I want to come back here and play. So it didn't take until a year. I went back home, and then the next year is when I got the call to come back for Alaska. And then I remember I was like literally at an airport. I was coming back from another tournament in the States, and I was at the airport, and I got the call from the Philippines in the airport. So, we had the white courtesy phone calls you used to get at the airport. They paged me. And I remember calling my mother and said, hey, I'm going to stay here in LA. I'm going to fly to Manila the next day to go play in the Philippines. And she was like, what? I like, pray for me. I'm going to the Philippines. And, and like Jeff can say, like that was in 1989, and still Philippines is considered my second home right now, 30 odd years later.
It's quite interesting that was the period where many things were changing in Philippine basketball. We had some expansion teams come over. Of course,
Right.
the Phil Americans, the trend of Phil Americans coming over to the game also started around your time, Jeff. And that's my question to Poch. Poch, you came just before Jeff into the league. You were one of the players ng UP. You obviously had ambitions to become one of the big men coming into the PBA. Were you at all? Did you at all see the influx of Phil Americans at the time? Eric Mick, Ali Peak started to check in. We started seeing all the Phil Americans come in. Did you feel it as a threat to your own career path towards stardom in the Philippines?
Not exactly. I took it as a challenge for me to be better than them. And of course, as Filipinos, we have our pride, so we don't have. We have to guard our positions, our slot in the team. So that's that's my mentality back then, to guard my position, my slot. So I have to be there and updated with all what's happening with the team.
It's interesting you say that, guarding your position and also obviously trying to prove yourself. It was a challenge for you. I guess for all of you, when you enter a team like Alaska and the culture that Alaska has, there is a certain challenge to be the best that you can be. And I want to throw that right now to all three of you. What specific roles, obviously even as rookies, even as a new player, Sean, what specific roles did you immediately have with your team, with Alaska, when you entered the team? When you came in, for instance, Jeff, it was a team that was already rock solid,
Right.
and you were coming in as a rookie in 1995. Were you given any specific role by Coach Tim Cohn at that time?
Well, I think what was nice was, first of all, I will say that it was actually a good start for me because I had the veterans who you could rely on that sort of carried the team on their shoulders. And me coming in, I think there was really no direct, specific kind of conversation on this is all you can do. I think what was nice was Coach Tim allowed, and the coaching staff just allowed me just to play my game and and to improve on my weaknesses. So it just turned out that during that time, come on, with guys like JoJo and Johnny and Bong, and then you have Sean as an import, and then Poch is our center. I'm at best maybe 4 or 5 or the fifth option, right? So to be honest with you, I never had a problem with that. So what I did was just really focus on the things that I also love to do. I felt if I wanted to score, I had to beat the guys down the court. So once we got that rebound, you'd see me filling the lanes and trying to get ahead of Sean and get ahead of JoJo. And, because once we're down there, we had guys that we could go to and create double teams, and maybe it'll be swung to me. But aside from that, that's how I scored. And then the other thing that I focused on was defense. So I wanted to take upon myself to guard the best scorer, the best shooters of the other team, and maybe take a load off some of our guards. Although JoJo wasn't too happy in playing or wasn't interested too much, so I kind of wanted to help him out in that aspect, and then just played my part, and it was fun and it worked out, and it was really something I share now to the guys that now that I'm a coach. is understanding roles. Know your role on the team. We know that we all want to improve and get better, but know what we need from you now, and then we'll work slowly on the weaknesses.
Poch?
Um, yeah, back then, siguro I was the well, I did my job as a helper on defense, and on offense, I would be the offensive rebounder, pass the ball. I'm a passer, pass first mentality back then, and one of my favorite recipients is Jeff. When I flash to the middle, he goes backdoor. I give him the pass. Sure, 2 points. That is best memories with me. The backdoor, always give him the pass. And of course, on defense, I try to help everyone and rebound. I don't care if I don't get the rebound, as long as I box out anyone or give a screen on offense naman din. Give a screen or give a good pass to my teammates. And plus,
Interesting. Yeah.
on I'm the sixth option on offense. Even I'm part of I'm the sixth option.
I already said you're the fifth. I'm the sixth because I'm younger. I already said you're the fifth.
Yeah,
Take the fifth.
it's interesting. It's interesting, Sean, that you saw this. You saw this
Right.
transition. You were
Yes.
there when this whole Alaska team became a super team. You
Right.
came in '89.
Yes.
It was the successes came in trickles. You've
Right.
won your first championship in 1991,
One.
but
Yes.
then you started to see the domination. How
Right.
did these two guys right here, Jeff and Poch, fit into the pieces that you were needed to make Alaska that Grand Slam team of '96?
Well, they were both the ultimate teammates. They both came in, didn't come in with egos. They didn't come in with like I gotta have the ball star mentality. They just kind of fit the mode of just being part of the team, being part of the family, and being part of an amazing unit. Um, and that was hard to buy into in the PBA back in those days because the people that were being the superstars were the ones that were making the big money. So players were going out trying to be superstars, and to get guys to buying into a role, buying into being part of the ultimate unit was what made Alaska so successful. When I first came into the league, remember I came in, we had Abid Gadabin, Yo-Yo Villamine, Bogues Ordonado was my coach. We had Abid, Paul Alvarez, Boy Cabajo, Rick Murata, B-Boy Rivanas, those Frankie Lim. Those were my first teammates. The old school guys were on their way out. I've been lucky. I've been part of three starting in '89, and I finished out in 2001. So I've seen such a change in the league that was so amazing. I played against, Ramon Fernandez, and Jaworski and those guys in Twadless, and then it went on to Borgel Meneses and June Lumput and the Big Pablo and those guys later on. And I saw, it's kind of funny. I came across so many videos since the COVID happened. I've been watching a lot of old game film. I got a lot of games when you were doing the commentating.
Yeah.
And it was always a pleasure.
Some of the guys that are still in there finishing up their careers now, I was playing against them, in 2001. So, but what happened with Alaska was one of the first, I think, organization that built a culture and a family organization, and we all play for one another. And I think other teams learned from that in the PBA. We made the PBA better because everybody just kind of followed that. Look, we need to make this more of a family kind of oriented thing instead of just a straight business. Get your bonuses, you win, you go your separate ways. And we kind of molded that.
All right. Well, I mean, one of my pleasures as a broadcaster was covering all of you. I mean, I thought that it was one of the best times in my life just to see how beautiful you played the game, how well you guys came together. And that's my next question. Alaska has always prided itself with culture. It's always prided itself with building a chemistry together. I want to know what were the techniques. How did Alaska? How did your coaches? How did management build culture for all of you during that time? I mean, you guys were obviously all independent republics. You've got superstars
Right.
there. You've got Jolas, you've got George, Johnny, Bong Hawkins, Jeff, Poch, Sean. You were there. Were you, like, for instance, Sean? Were you required to stay over even during the off season, or was it? Did you take it upon yourself? Like Jeff, did you feel like you needed to be in the office all the time? What kind of policies and practices did Alaska do to create that culture, that chemistry for the team? I'll start with you first, Poch.
Um, First of all, I think buying into the system talaga of Coach Tim. We believe in him talaga. And of course, tried and proven naman yung system niya. And for me, being able to play is believing in the system. That's one thing that I believe. You must believe what your coaches is uh, wants you to do, and then you can play it.
Yeah.
Jeff?
Yeah, for me, I think Poch covered Coach Tim, so that's definitely a big reason. Leadership, but it also derives from our owner, Boss Fred Ruitensu, and how he runs his company. So he runs his company, and we don't just use words like integrity and respect and discipline just to say. They really run it that way, and it really trickled down to the team, and of course led by Coach Tim and the coaching staff. We don't have a lot of the luxuries that all the other teams do, but it really is special because I've been a part of it. It really does make it that much more special when you find a way to win, you find a way to overachieve, and you win that championship that you guys are going for each and every day. So it really starts from the top and it trickled down to where we are, and then just for the players itself, the guys that really were soldiers in that kind of attitude to kind of sustain the culture and to improve the culture. Our leaders that we just talked about, Sean Poch is a leader, Jojo, Johnny Bong, despite of the different personalities, they were all leaders in their own mark, and it really just kind of you walk in there and you're like, okay, this is how it's going to be done. I have to be able to adjust to it. So either you don't, or you don't play, or you go to another team. So that's really how it is.
Sean, were there specific stories that you had, just like what you were saying, that you asked the rookies to carry your bags?
Tradition.
Obviously, these are not just orders, but this is a way to, I guess, create a bond.
Sure.
And that's something that Alaska is so good at.
So I think we'll start with Jeff's comment. It starts from the top, trickles down, kind of like running a school. Mr. Uitensu, like Jeff said, we use the word integrity, honor, and doing things the right way, win the right way. That they don't take that lightly. They mean that, and they mean it by heart. And so then you have to get like-minded people in your organization. So when we were going out drafting kids and bringing new players in, so when Tim went out and got Johnny, we vetted him. We knew Johnny was a great guy. Jojo, I think, was the biggest transition to Alaska, actually, because Jojo was such a character, a high character guy, and such a high character person. When we got Jolas, it really was a change of bringing certain character guys into our organization. So then came Johnny, and then here comes Bong, and then we got Putch and Alex Adaneta. We were getting guys that were just good people first, and then better basketball players. And then Jeff came along, and it just came Merwin. Merwin was such a great guy. Ruel Gomez, and you just had all these guys that were just good people. And so then we put that all together, and then we created such an amazing unit. What I used to do, and I don't know if you guys remember this, every year I would come back, I would bring back these T-shirts, these N1 T-shirts, and give them to all the players, and they had all these different jokes on them. I learned how to do a Pasa Lubong because the guys always call me cheap. All the players call me Karipa because I didn't want to treat them to lunch or dinner or anything like that. But I would bring back a T-shirt every year and give one to all the guys as being part of the culture of Alaska. But again, when you're like one of the leaders, like myself and JoJo was at the time, and we wanted to do whatever we can do to help win games. All the younger guys will follow, and we always wanted to be good guys. We wanted to be good, high character guys. All the younger guys will follow.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say all of these things, the pasalubong that you've done for all of these guys, and that's why I want to ask this to Jeff and Poch. Sean was one of those guys that you can't really say was dominating. He was a tweener. He played whether it was a big import conference or a lower ceiling import conference, but he was always a winner. Now, I want to know what made Sean Chambers so right for Alaska, Poch and Jeff. I'll start with you, Jeff.
Well, first of all, I disagree with you a little bit, Colin, when you say that he's not dominating. He may not be that import where every game, you're averaging 50 or
exactly.
You're doing it, but that's just in points. But we all know, that there's so many other categories in basketball. And
that's right. I actually stand corrected because that's all I meant. That he wouldn't score. He was not like a Carlos Briggs or a Wes Matthews who'd score 50 plus points every game. But he was a guy that was always there to win. Go ahead, Jeff.
Right. So it's really hard. I mean, when you're playing, I think consistency is key, right? So yes, it won't be maybe up to the 40s or 50, but it is up between. And Sean, you could correct me. It had to be between 25 and 30 at least. And
my
but
career
then he'll
average
have
is 31 points.
31, see? But
My
then you have 15 rebounds, and then he'll have his 7-8 assists. But defensively, oh my goodness, just being there helping out his teammates. He's an import that was willing to close out when he needed to. He's underneath the basket with the big guy, but there's an open guy in the corner. He'll run out there and challenge that. So he really is a complete player, and that kind of forced us to be better in more than just one aspect. So that's why Sean was special. That's why.
Poch?
Yeah, Sean was a good role model for us to emulate him in the court. First of all, he has a really big heart when he plays. You can see his attitude during practice and during the games. You can really tell that with the stats, because the stats won't do justice, but the outcome will do the justice. See how many games we won without him being the best player, best scorer. Sean will be the ultimate import that a team can have, and not take away many things from his local teammates.
Right.
But he tries to include every one of them.
Did you ever consider, Sean, that you were the alpha dog of Alaska?
I felt like I brought a whole, so much more different to the team that they didn't have until I got there sometimes. Like Tim used to tell me, when I came back over, it came like we all knew we were going to win. We practiced different. We came to the games with different expectations. They knew that I always said this is the PBA, not the NBA. I was playing in the Philippine Basketball Association. I wanted my teammates to be successful and be rock stars more than myself. They knew, let's say if there was the other imports didn't take pride in covering an Alvin Patrimonio or Vergel Meneses or the other best local players. I took pride in that, and knowing that we can shut down the better local player that is going to help us win, and then move over and play defense against a Kenny Travis. When my first 2 years, I was averaging 37 points a game. Mm-hmm. But as we started getting better talent around us, JoJo and myself have to take lesser shots for the betterment of the team. And I think the biggest thing for me, I didn't shoot a lot of threes, and Carlos Briggs, like you said, and Tony Harris and all those guys. But my will to win was much higher than theirs. My
Absolutely.
desire to win was much higher than theirs. My fear of failure more than to succeed was higher than theirs. Like I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to let the organization down or my teammates down or my Filipino fans down. So like I always felt like I was playing for something more bigger than myself. I wasn't worried about my own success or I would be upset that I only had one best import. Never mattered. Never mattered. But I will tell you this. I just watched that game when I was rewarded the best import award. Okay. Nobody was more happier for me than my teammates because they knew it was well overdue and about time. I was happy, but I can watch that video and you should see these guys, specifically Jeff, Bong, Putch, you know, the way they all, especially Ruel Gomez. He jumps on my back. I watched it, probably almost brought tears to my eyes, but it was like they were so happy for me, you know?
I think one best import does not give justice to what you've done for the PBA, Sean. And
Thank you.
clearly, if there is anyone that should be emulated as an import, it should be you. And I say that from the bottom of my heart, even as a league commissioner one time. But I thought that Sean Chambers should be rewarded for all the things that he has done for Philippine basketball. But let me go now to the kind of winning that Alaska had. In 1995, you entered 3 finals. That was the first time in your history that you were in 3 finals. You only won once, though. And that came before, in 1994, you won a championship in the Governor's Cup. So you actually had 7 straight finals from 1994 all the way to 1996. Now, let me ask you, how difficult was that to sustain every conference? You've got to get up and perform the same way over and over again. I mean, that must have been a lot. It must have been taxing for all of you. I'll start with you, Sean.
For me, I was the lucky one because I just came back for the 3rd conference, and that's where I felt like
That's
I had to kind of help pick up the guys. So after we won the 95 championship, I'm sorry, the 94, and then we won the 94 championship. They went through 95. They went to the championships, all Filipino in the 2nd conference, but they didn't win it. So then we come into the 3rd conference. They're exhausted. I know they're a bit tired, but I was like starting to hit my prime. So I knew I can pick up the slack for them and kind of help us get us going. And then once we got going, we had probably one of the best series ever. The only time we won, we won a couple 7-game series against San Miguel against Kenny Travis, and one of the best games ever I can remember was Game 6 when Bon Hawkins was hurt, and Johnny Abarentos put on his Superman cape and carried us the second half. Was absolutely one of the most amazing performances. And actually, that game, I think we only missed 4 shots the whole second half. It was something ridiculous. And then we came back and won Game 7. So then we went into the Grand Slam year. It showed such an amazing work ethic by our local players, because I was playing with the best local players at that time. I knew it. You know, we grew together, but they became the best local players in the league. We were so completely well-rounded. So now they won the all Filipino championship on Jeffrey's free throws, with an amazing performance. Then we had the situation with Derek Hamilton when I had to come back over.
You had to come in?
Come in. So I came in a little bit out of shape. They carried me until I got in shape. And to go through that one, again, they're tired. They've been playing nonstop basketball for almost 2 years straight, 3 years. And we pulled that one off. But then when we got to the third conference, we were just like, once we get our legs underneath us, we're going to fly through this conference. And we did.
Right.
Jeff?
Yeah, I'd like to first say that that's the championship that Wikipedia is not including, that 95 third conference. So that's why I always tell people, no, it's 8. So yeah, you know, I always say this also come to everyone. I was spoiled my first 2 years. So imagine making the finals all 6 times your first 2 years in the PBA.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
You know, what a ride. I mean, you know, I don't think it was as strenuous for me because first I was young. younger than some of the guys. But again, as far as responsibility, remember those our vets had the bigger load. So I just want to kind of point out the mindset, and I really love this question because it really establishes the mindset that the team has. What's difficult about how we do things in the Philippines is with the three conferences every year, there's always okay, you win a championship, you're up, or if you don't, then you kind of go back down and you start over again. It's kind of a roller coaster ride. So you could imagine the dedication I think the team has into just being able to practice hard each and every day, preparing ourselves each and every day, and then playing conference after conference. Imagine the mindset there. We lost two, and then imagine the thinking right before the third conference. Right. How are we gonna find the energy to go back and, gosh, we just lost two, and we could have easily just folded. Although we did start slow that conference, but then again, Sean helped us and picked us up. But I just want to mention that the mindset I think is beyond extraordinary with a lot of the guys, and again, it just has to do with the culture that we had at Alaska.
Poch, I know that you were there in '94, and you saw how you struggled in the beginning. You won a championship. You lost against Sunkist twice in '95. Did that kind of push everyone to become even better?
Yeah, it was a challenge for us to overcome the losses against Sunkist in the first and the second conference. And Coach Tim always challenged us to be better, to look beyond that and look at the big picture, the championship. I know it's hard every day. He has to convince us that it's okay to lose at the beginning, and at the end will be when the outcome matters. That's what it matters. In the '95 season and '96, it brought the mentality, winning mentality. It developed us through the years of playing the conferences. It was a challenge. We have to improve better every game, every conference. The team has to be better, and individual players have to be better.
It's interesting because, and I want to ask you, what did you think? I know that you went. It wasn't an easy Grand Slam year, as you have been saying. You have to pick it up 7 straight championships, 7 straight finals. You had to pick it up every day. But was there, if you were to be asked, what was you think is the pivotal point in that Grand Slam year? I know, for instance, Sean, you had to come in for Derek Hamilton, who was suspended, then banned by the league. Do you think that was a pivotal point? I know, Jeff, that you canned those free throws. What do you think if there was one particular, point in that Grand Slam year? Did you think that we're not going to make this? We're not going to get the Grand Slam. I'll start with you first, Jeff.
I think the motivation going into the All Filipino '96, and again coming off of a championship in '95, was to win our first All Filipino. Mm-hmm. So that hasn't happened yet. So that was our first All Filipino championship, and when we won that, we felt like going into the second conference again. We were the favorites. So again, what I'd love to say about the mentality of the guys is it never went down, or at least I never sensed it. Guys kept on performing at a high level each and every day at practice. There was never a discussion on, okay, maybe we could do something. It was always, okay, let's be at our best today, and let's prepare today. And then we took one game at a time. I definitely think that with our import needing to go home and Sean replacing him, at first you're kind of skeptical because that was the second conference where we have the bigger imports. Yeah, right. And if I'm correct, we played Kenny Redfield, right? So
yeah, that's right.
That second conference, and he's a good 6'9", right? And just with the height, there's already a difference. But again, Sean knows the guys. We were comfortable with Sean, and we kind of find a way during that second conference. And then that was the only time where I guess the thought, was there, or the conversation started. Wasn't a lot of conversation, but where the thought came in where, okay, we just won 2. Maybe we could go for the Grand Slam.
There was a stretch push, for instance, that you entered the semifinals after topping the eliminations. I don't know which conference. Then you lost 4 straight in a row, and then you had to win 3 in a row just to get back on track. Was that a point where we're not going to make it? You think that was a point that was also very critical, Poch?
Uh, of course. I think we plateaued that time, and then we have to what do you call this? Improve or do something new just to liven things up, get us back in on track, and then things went our way. You know, it's hard for you to lose 4 straight. What conference was that, Sean? Would you remember?
Are you talking when we went back into the third conference in '96?
Yeah,
I think that's the one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was actually three.
game. First
It
three
was three
games.
games. First 3 games we lost.
Yeah,
To
yeah,
start
we
the
lost.
third.
The
No,
third
there
we
was a
lost.
time. There was also a time you entered the semifinals. I think it was. I think that was. It was still a time when there were no matchups.
Sure,
You had to go
sure,
through a round robin thing. But
sure.
anyway. But let me ask you, Sean. Do you think that replacing Derek Hamilton was a pivotal
Uh,
point for you as well?
you know what? Out of all the years, I never ever asked my teammates how did they feel when that happened. So I'm really curious. I didn't never thought about that. Like, were you guys concerned when Derek got replaced and I was coming over, Jeff?
No, I wasn't worried at all. It was you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
right.
it was okay. So
I didn't
Sean's
know. Right. I
coming,
never asked it. I
and
never
then
asked that question.
right.
Right. Go ahead.
So I just like to add that's why Poch and Bong was so crucial in that series
Yep.
was because
Absolutely.
they were the ones guarding him. They were the ones guarding the big import. So remember that series went to 7, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, right?
Yes.
So
Yes. A scary
it could have
7.
went either way. So
It was a scary 7. Yeah.
it was a scary 7, right? So again, it could have went either way, but we just found a way. And my last point of that is what's nice about this team, Calm, is we take advantage of the opportunities.
Mhm.
Our vets, they're our leaders, and then you win to kind of step on the gas, and
Right.
that's something special.
So going back to your question, Commissioner, it was like when I came over, it was actually a dream of mine. I used to dream of wishing I could be part of the Grand Slam and be able to play in both conference.
Nice.
I used to dream of this. And when I got the call from Tim, I was like, wait a minute, I haven't been working out as much as I usually have. Because a lot of people don't know the year before he called me because Derek almost got in trouble with something. So then he calls me. He calls me the second time. I was like, yeah, okay, this is just the same thing. They thought something was coming up with Derek. And I go, yeah, you said that last year. Then he calls me the next day. All right, you got to get on the plane tomorrow. I was like, what? So, so coming over, I think if I not recall, I'm pretty sure when I came over, we won our first 2 games, and then we had to win a big game against Ginebra that we weren't supposed to win. They had a really good import that year. I can't remember his name right now. He was very famous. But we were actually losing that game by 15 in the fourth quarter, and we came back and won the game, and that put us straight to the finals. And then we thought we were going to play Ginebra, and then Kenny Redfield hit like a half-court shot against Ginebra to win the game. And all of a sudden, we're playing Shell. So we were preparing to play Ginebra the whole time in our head, right? So and that stretch allowed me to get in shape, but it was still a very difficult conference because Kenny Redfield, he was like 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", whatever he was, but he was also playing at a guard. So he played also away from the basket, and that allowed he could shoot, and that allowed Benji to be inside. So they had a great combination out there where they were not, clogging the middle together. So they had such Jolly Escobar could play good defense on me, and Terry Saldana because they were big. They had a big team back then,
Yeah.
But our desire. I mean, some of the just amazing when I can go back and watch some of these game films, like Jeff said, was when the core guys, including these guys, Jeff and Putch and Johnny and Bong and Jolas, when the core guys, when we got our mind like all on the same page, like we're not going to lose, forget about it. We were going to find a way to win. No questions asked. Magical. We were going to find a way to win. And again, like-minded people, right? Because there's some guys, when it gets too big for them, they'll just quit. Hey,
Yeah.
we'll come back to the next conference. We lose our first three or four games. Forget it. We'll get ready for the next conference. Not this group of guys. It was a group of guys that were like, when we lost our first 3 games, no, Commissioner, I'm telling you, I knew we were not going to lose another game after that. I knew it. Like when we lost our first 3 games in the third conference, I was like, and we went under one. We broke a record, right? We won 13 games in a row. That was a record in the Philippines at the time. I don't know if it still stands, but we won 13 straight games in a row in the PBA after we lost our first 3 games.
Right.
Well, that is really the kind of team that Alaska had and built, and that's why I always say it was the way to win. It was the right way to win. And
Right.
running out of time here, but let me just ask you, just to wrap things up here, for all of you, how does that rank? What does the Grand Slam do to a career of a player? And up to now, in your current lives, in what you do, when you look back and you look at that 1996 championships, what does it mean to all of you personally? I'll start with you, Poch.
First of all, parang it was really for me. It's until now life changing. Everyone notices me as part of the Grand Slam team, and everyone remembers that team. So I'm part of it, and then maybe my confidence in playing the time. I was still like 23 when we first got the Grand Slam. It made me be a better player on and off the court. And until now, people talaga, I can't believe it. After 20, 25, 20 years, 24 years, they still remember that time that we won the Grand Slam. Ayun.
Right.
Well, they will always remember you. You were the most improved player of '96, and you were a vital cog in the run of Alaska. Jeff, what does the Grand Slam mean to you now as a coach, in your personal life, and in everything you do?
It's up there. Honestly, that Grand Slam year as a player is really the pinnacle in regards to my greatest memories. So it's there. It's top. No question about that. What's really nice is because me being part of that team, yes, I agree with Butch. Everyone still remembers. And, not to talk about myself, but those free throws actually kind of put me on the map a little bit.
Yes.
So everything kind of followed after that in regards to being able to get offers. So all that. So I'd like to say that was the start of a career that I cannot complain about. But yeah, it's up there memory wise. I share it with my kids. I explained to them roles also because again, my role there was different. Maybe come Alaska my second time around. But again, one of the most memorable moments in my career.
Well, you talk about how big those free throws were. Of course, in '97, and this is another story. You had to you transferred teams, and again, it's part of your career. But at the end of the day, they say you go back home, and you're back home with Alaska.
Right.
And it's
For
a
sure.
terrific story. Sean, I know that that'll forever be etched in your resume. But more than that, how much has that impacted in all your decisions moving forward?
It's legendary, right? It's legendary status. When I first came to the PBI, I believe San Miguel had just won a Grand Slam at night. I think that was '89. I think they won a Grand Slam, and I watched that. I remember being in the stands and watching that game in Ultra, and I desired that for the rest of my career. And I played for that that's why I said I dreamed of it being the import. I don't know if that was a bit selfish in my end, where I wanted to be the only import for the team as well. So, but it's still today when you come into my office at my school, there's the pictures of these guys, my Grand Slam teammates.
Nice.
People can come in my office and we may be talking about an academic issue or a behavior issue, and then I can point to this picture on my wall and talk about This is what you accomplish when you do things as a unit. When you do things with the same purpose and goal in mind, you win things and you become successful. And now because of that team success, Jeff got 6 Man of the Year. Twitch got Most Improved. Johnny got MVP. Bong and Joe made Mythical 5, and I got the Best Import. And none of us was playing for those accolades. We were all playing for each other, but that was the result of it. So, and then to top it off, we win, the coveted Grand Slam. Today, Commissioner, when I can walk into a Filipino store and somebody go, Sean Chambers, Grand Slam. Sean Chambers, Grand Slam, here in Sacramento. I go to a local Jollibee store down the street from my school. Sean Chambers, Grand Slam. That's what that guy is right there. So it's legendary.
They should forever name the Grand Slam Sean Chambers.
Hey,
hey guys, it's been terrific. Just reminiscing. There are many more questions that I wanted to ask. I know how busy you all are, but it's terrific just to have you around. Thanks for the time, and we're looking forward to having basketball once again on the court. Yes, Sean. One last thing.
I have one thing, and it may be a little controversial right now, but I do believe it's a disjust, as great as the Alaska team was, and as great as these guys have been, that we don't have one Alaska player in the PBA Hall of Fame. We need to get that fixed somewhere, somehow. Even if we all came in as one unit, the whole team or whatever, but we do not have one player from Alaska in the PBA Hall of Fame.
Is that so? Really?
That's factual. Yes.
Oh, okay.
You sure? Not Johnny, not Bong, not Joe Loss, not nobody, none of us.
All I know is that some of you are in the 40 greatest.
The 40 greatest, but not the Hall of Fame.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well,
I think the last induction was a while back when they had Benji Peraz and Wanda Masonic went in and somebody else. I can't remember who it was. But as individual players, there's not an Alaska player in the PBA Hall of Fame.
We're going to fix that.
That needs to be
definitely.
Fixed.
That's going to be fixed. Plus, I think the 96 Grand Slam team, you're right, should be in the Hall of Fame. Hey, guys, thanks so much. We can continue, but we'll end on this. And again, thank you. Thanks for the time.
Man, I'm so honored. So honored.
Bye, guys.
Honored. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Good seeing you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys.